Gambit was released in Marvel Rivals this past week, and he's a very intriguing character, not only in moveset, but also in personality. So let's dive into his first character chapter, Deal of a Lifetime, to see the multifaceted scoundrel known as Gambit. We start the story on Nowhere, the floating skull of a fallen celestial. The galaxy's strongest heroes and most cunning criminals can each find a moment of peace on this floating skull. And today, both criminals and heroes are playing a poker game together. "Let's play another hand," Gambit says. "Winner takes all. I'll deal." "Look who got himself a fancy new deck of cards," Rocket chimed in as Gambit pulls out a stack of glimmering cards from his trench coat. "A gift from the Grandmaster himself," Gambit said with a cunning smile. The other players at the table began to whisper in disbelief. "Wait, you got that from an Elder of the Universe? Those guys are nothing but trouble." "I heard they built a new domain on the edge of the universe," a Cronin man added. The fourth player, a Badoon, says, "They say it's some cosmic theme park. They hold countless species captive and make them fight for entertainment." The Badoon is a reptilian creature. "What have you gotten yourself into, Remy?" Rocket asks. Remy LeBeau consider his friend's question for a moment. What had he gotten himself into? It wasn't an easy story to reveal because Gambit was known for keeping his cards close to the vest. But he was close friends with Rocket, and he felt he was comfortable enough to reveal a few secrets of this story. "Don't know if you heard, mon ami, but Rogue and I finally tied the knot." "Yeah, I heard. My invite must have gotten lost in the post, huh?" Rocket grumbled. "It was an intimate affair. Just us and our fellow X-Men, you know?" Yeah. But Anna Marie deserves nothing less than a flarkin' fairy tale, okay, Cajun? But the universe, she had other plans for us. Before we could cut the cake, Krakoa got swept up in some temporal time storm that transported the island into the distant future. "Yeah, the time stream entanglement," Rocket said knowingly. "The Guardians and I have been trying to clean up that mess ever since it started. We've been fighting our tails off across all realities, from Clintar to Krakoa, back to Clintar again, and then to Kunlun. And maybe there are a few other places who didn't start with K, but I don't remember." Rocket paused and realized a weird detail. "Wait a minute. If you were on Krakoa when you time portaled, then why weren't you at the Hellfire Gala when Ultron attacked? We really could have used you and Rogue's help. I mean, mostly Rogue's help, but still." "Well, it's funny," Gambit said, as he dealt another card to each of the players. "By the time Krakoa was attacked, we were on the other side of the galaxy." "Well, doing what exactly? Stealing? My reputation as a thief is the one that really brought me here, but Rogue don't know about that part. Like you said, Anna Marie deserves only the best, and when our wedding didn't go as planned, I thought I could make it up to her by giving her the honeymoon of her dreams. I got Stormy to reach out to her beau, Leroy de Wakanda, to lend us a fancy spaceship so I could sweep my bride off on a romantic voyage across the stars. But I'm guessing you had ulterior motives, didn't you? Well, when that storm hit, me and Rogue lost our wedding rings as well as our wedding. It haunted me that I wasn't able to give Anna Marie the symbol of my devotion, so I started digging around to get a new ring, a better one, something as one-of-a-kind as she is." "And is that when the Grandmaster showed up with an offer you couldn't refuse?" "Indeed he did." "You know, Rogue don't really care about all that material stuff, right? All she wants is you dummy." "Well, maybe that's all she wants, but she deserves more. She deserves the best. Even if it means making a deal with an elder? You know how dangerous that is, right?" They continued to talk more about the details. The Grandmaster went to Remy LeBeau with a request. If Gambit could steal a contract from the Collector, then he would get a reward. The Badoon chimed in. He had heard whispers that the Collector gave a red-skinned man a powerful weapon so that he could get this contract. Why the Grandmaster wants the contract now is still unknown. Rocket asked what Gambit will get out of all of this trouble. If Gambit completes this robbery, then he will get a pair of wedding rings forged from a magical Chronovium. Plus, he will be allowed to have his final honeymoon location in the Grand Garden. Rocket said he should have asked for a lot more, but Gambit replies, "Well, this job ain't about the money. This one's for Rogue." Gambit explains he isn't telling Rogue about this heist because he wants to protect her, And also because she would have never gone along if she knew this was the real reason, which is when Rocket said he's surprised the Quiet Council of Krakoa even let them fly off during this giant time stream mess. But Gambit convinced them that they could use this honeymoon galactic tour to help Krakoa. At every destination they land, they plant a Krakoan seedling that will sprout into a Krakoan portal, a portal that mutants can use to travel safely back to Krakoa. This way, the mutants that were lost in the time stream entanglement will have an easier time returning home, and the mutants of Krakoa can go searching out for others too. At this time of the conversation, the game of poker ends, with Rocket revealing a perfect hand. The Crowan walks away angrily, but the Badoon shows his fangs and accuses Rocket of cheating. Then the Badoon goes, "I'd call on our gods to punish you, but they have gone silent, so I'll just have to do it myself." The Badoon quickly shoots Rocket with a gun he had silently aimed under the table, and before he could aim it at Gambit, Remy picked up some of the credits off the table and launched them at the Badoon. The kinetic powers caused them to lightly explode, damaging and scaring the Badoon off as he fled. Rocket was severely injured. He said it opened up an old wound that he thought had healed long ago, which this is when Gambit revealed another trick. As a down payment from the Grandmaster's deal, the Grandmaster used his power primordial to repair some of Gambit's frontal lobe. This process unlocked a new mutant ability to infuse objects with non-explosive kinetic energy, a kinetic energy that instead kick-started cellular regeneration and enhanced healing abilities. Gambit knew full well that Rocket didn't like to be the subject of experiments, so he didn't inform him about all this weird stuff, and instead just showed him. "What the flark just happened? I saved your life, Holm. Now you owe me." Rocket sighed. "And that means keeping my yap shut and not telling Rogue what you're up to, huh? You know me so well." "Fine. You have your perfect honeymoon in the Elder's weird realm, but if you mess things up, which let's face it, you will, I get to be the first to say I told you so. Deal?" Sounds fair to me. They start to play another game when Gambit pulls out a metal die. Rocket recognizes it and says that's a Chronovium die. It'll roll whatever number its owner wishes it to. "How do you get one?" "Oh, right, the Grandmaster. If I finish the job, he's gonna turn this little beauty into Anna Marie's new wedding ring." At this moment, the Badoon returned with several of his reptilian brethren ready for a fight. Rocket reached under the table and grabbed his oversized ion cannon, and Gambit grabbed his staff and prepared to leap into action, but he felt a familiar hand on his shoulder. He turned to find himself face to face with his wife, and she did not look thrilled. Rogue, in her southern accent charm, talks about how disappointed she is, and that's when Rocket takes the blame, saying this is all his fault. She says, "I expected better from you, Rocky." Remy, on the other hand, "I'll make it up to you, my chérie, right after we deal with these jokers." "Leave these cold-blooded creeps to me," Rogue said, rushing to the reptilian rabble-rousers and taking them out with a few swift punches. "That's my girl," Rocket said. "No, monsieur," Gambit said, kissing the back of Rogue's hand. "That is my girl. And if you want it to stay that way, Mr. LeBeau, then we'd better be off before Rocky here gets you into more of his shenanigans." "Oui, Madame LeBeau. The Grand Garden awaits." As the happy couple exited the bar, Rocket wanted to come clean and tell Rogue the whole truth. But he owed Gambit. He saved his life. So instead, he called out to wish them well and ask one small favor. "You two kids be safe and have fun," Rocket said, as he was rubbing the healed wound with a strange look of nostalgia in his eyes. "And if you happen to see a cute little otter named Lila in the collector's menagerie, tell her that Rocket's coming to find her, okay?" "Anything for you, Sugar," Rogue called back. "And anything for love," Gambit added. I think this story does a very good explanation of why Gambit and Rogue were gone, what they've been up to, and what they're doing currently. And it sets up the whole Grandmaster situation very well, and potentially even starts the setup to a collector season in the future, where we go to the collector's vault. But a few smaller details that I really liked is the Badoon says that his gods are missing and they've been silent, which is kind of calling back to how Null took over a bunch of gods. It wasn't just the Wakandan gods that got taken over, it was others as well. And even though Null has been taken out, are they still stuck, lost? It's either a cool callback or it's setting up something new. And Rocket rubbing a wound that apparently might be connected to his escape with Lila and the Collector. Pretty fun. Also, the red-skinned man that the Badoon mentions might be Mephisto, but that's not confirmed. Mephisto had some deal with the Collector and the Grandmaster that was set up at the end of Season 4, but we don't know if this is confirmed that this is also Mephisto. And that's pretty cool to have some mystery involved. I think it's really cool to set up a bunch of different stories, even though they're mainly trying to set up Gambit and Rogue's history. Overall, this has been a very cool story that I really like. And what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it, or was my voice acting terrible? And finally, this recap of Gambit's first character chapter is a little longer than my normal recaps, and I wanted to ask if you think it's an appropriate length, or if you would rather have it be a bit more summarized and a bit shorter. So let me know in the comments what you think. Anyway, have a nice day, and thanks for watching.